All right. Microphone. Can you say something to the mic?
Check, check, check.
Microphone check. 1, 2.
1, 2.
All right,
Bad
man.
Bunny.
Bad Bunny.
Eh.
Hey, welcome to the Lions Den, as it has been affectionately been called. Eric, I got Eric McMahon here today joining us. Eric, man, welcome.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Eric McMahon, the assistant strength coach for the Texas Rangers. I remember when I first came into the Rangers, man. People were bragging about you. They were like, "Ah, man, this guy is the smartest guy in the organization. He's the smartest strength coach that we have. And obviously gotten a chance to work with you as a strength coach, man, and just different stories and the laughs, you know what I'm saying, throughout the years, man. Talk to us a little bit about family and maybe like the Reader's Digest version of how you came to sit in this seat, man.
Awesome. So, family, that was actually one of my biggest fears getting into this profession was family. I know I played college football, Division III college football, and strength and conditioning was obviously a big part of that, which is kind of why I went this way. But I remember seeing what my coaches went through, and with looking at a coaching profession, I knew the struggle it was just to live a normal family life, and I remember that was hard for me. I knew this was my passion. I knew this is what I wanted to do. Having a family was really important to me all those years, even before I had one. And I have my wife Meredith. We're from Vermont originally.
You, you might be the only, probably you might be the second person I know from Vermont, man.
Yeah, there's a few up there,
There are
but
few of y'all.
we're from Vermont. We actually met in high school, but we didn't date or anything back then. And we have 3 kids right
Yeah.
now and one on the way. So
Congratulations, man.
thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations
So
again, man.
Colin is our oldest. He's turning 7 in the next month, and then we got Amelia and Claire and to be determined coming into December. So
The quiver is
yeah,
full. The
yeah.
quiver is full.
But yeah, family's huge, man. And I think doing a job like this where you're away so much, it really grounds you on what's important,
Sure.
and surrounding yourself with those, with people that are important to you, especially family. It keeps the perspective real,
Yeah.
and I think that is, as you coach for a long time, I think that perspective is becomes even more important
Yeah.
because you're constantly trying to relate and to real life things, and those are the real life things that are happening to me. Working with my kids and trying to teach Colin how to hit the ball and behavior things and just being married.
Yeah.
That all those things.
That's awesome, man. So I got a question for you. So as a strength coach, right, you get the opportunity to work with these professional athletes, and you see a side, right, of these guys that the average coach, the average staff member, the average person doesn't see. You get a chance
Hmm.
to see these guys at their breaking point, right?
For sure.
What is one of the most valuable lessons that you've taken away from being able to get into this realm, right, and see that side of athletes? What is the most valuable thing that you've picked up in terms of the human spirit?
Well, that's a deep question, Joe. That is in strength and conditioning. We also see guys sort of with their guard down. We're one of the staff members that we don't control playing time, and guys come in the gym, and I feel like with the way guys look at strength and conditioning now, they want to get better. They want to push themselves. They're looking for someone to facilitate and to
Mm-hmm.
enable that. And I think that's powerful. I think that's what we need to tap into as strength coaches is when every time a guy walks through that door, it's an opportunity to to get in there and have an impact. But yeah, the human spirit. I I think what we can do as strength coaches is provide structure and content, obviously in our area, but it's it's much bigger than that. It's kind of reading how their day's going and just jumping in to connect. And you always hear relationships, but I think the biggest part of that is just being able to connect on a daily basis. And I know for me, I strive to show up the same guy every day. But just no matter what's going on in your life, there's always going to be these little things that you're coming in a little salty about something, or something's bothering you or weighing you down, or just getting in the way of what's putting you at your best that day. And I think as professionals, no matter what we do, we always have to keep that in check. But I think as strength coaches, kind of that gateway, that weight room, that when people come in there, their guards down a little bit, and they're striving to make gains and make improvements. I think that's a area where we have a huge impact.
Yeah, and that's great, man. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just like looking for ways to connect, looking for ways to make an impact. And at the end of the day, man, these guys are people, right? They're people before they are performers, right?
For sure.
Knowing you, man, you're very. I'm not gonna say OCD. I'm not here to diagnose. You know what I'm saying? But man, you love keeping order, right? With your cones, right? Cones set the tone, baby. Cones set the tone. How do you go about your the way you perceive excellence, right? How do you go about setting up drills, setting up the day for your players, the prep work that goes into being a consummate professional? I know we mess around with you a lot, man. You know what I'm saying? As far as you staying on top of things, but it's an admirable quality when you are in the position of leadership. So how do you go about parsing through what's important, what's not important, and preparing so that I can put out the best product for my players?
For sure. So we preach routine here. I think that's a word ever since I've got into baseball that I think is that we've always put on players, like, hey, you need to have a routine, or big leaguers have a routine. And the one thing I've learned is there's a difference between having a routine and being committed to a routine, a daily routine where people know where you're going to be at a certain time because that's how you do your business, or know how you show up to the park each day. And that's something I strive for in myself. Just to have a consistent routine, so I'm approachable to players, and so that I can be on top of things, or OCD, depending on how you look at it. But I think people like structure to their day. I that's one of those questions. You always hear what do you believe that if people think you're crazy for? Like that's always my answer to that, is that it's when you don't have structure, it's chaos, and nobody thrives in that. And I think knowing myself, that's what it's all about. Like I don't like chaos in my life. I don't like not feeling control. We always talk about control what you can control, and those little things, those are what you can take care of every single day. It's about good habits build up over time. It's about making good decisions in a row, again and again. And if you can do that, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
You never want to be the 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And that's the so to me, that's what all that is just I stay on top of what I can stay on top of. But I think that's, no matter what your role is in an organization, I think that is what we all strive for. Having a routine, being committed to that. We talk about process. Process over outcome, and being committed to your routine. That's what that is to me.
That's great, man. That's great. So, what would you say is, and I agree with everything you said, because I think that's very important. Control the controllables. That right there, in and of itself, takes down a lot of stress. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
On what you do. What would you say is the thing that pisses you off the most, man? What pisses you off the most, man? Saying all that you have said, what is the thing that gets Eric McMahon heated?
Ooh.
Watch out.
Yeah, watch out. No, it's a good question.
I mean,
Yeah,
if you're being, if you're,
I think, yeah, as a human being, I think we're always at our lowest point when we're spread thin, and I think, different, I know at this stage in my life, I have, I have work and I have family, and that's what I'm trying to balance in my life right now. And I think when, I personally try to shake that stuff off, the little stuff. And I know if it doesn't stick with me, if I don't have, one little thing, if it doesn't stick with me, I know it's not that important.
when you say the little stuff, what do you mean?
The little stuff, the picking up the weight room,
Oh, I gotcha.
and doing that, things like that. It's the little day to day. I try to brush that stuff off. But that's a good question. What makes me
What
most
pisses you off,
upset?
man?
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for it.
No,
I'm still
I hear
waiting
you.
for it, man.
Um,
Whether these are, you know what I'm saying, conceptual things like, disrespect
no,
or
okay, yeah.
laziness or
I was
you
going
know
specific on that. Going when yeah, for sure. I think having a voice, wanting to, you always want to have a voice and um, have your viewpoint heard,
mhm,
and have an avenue to do that. And I think those are areas when you feel passed over in life. And
mhm,
I look back through my, you know childhood and different things. I think you helped me get to it, but um, those are the times in my life when I was most frustrated. Like, if I wasn't getting enough playing time,
mhm,
or if I was excluded from a group at school, or something that I wanted to be a part of, like
mhm.
feeling excluded, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exclusivity.
yeah,
I don't like
I
that
think
either.
helped me narrow it down there, but
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But
Hey man, that's what we're here
I'd
for,
say it
bro.
all kind of stems from that.
Yeah.
So
So that segues perfectly into the next thing that I wanted to ask you, right? So I mean, you're sitting in this in the seat of a strength and conditioning professional, one who is charged with the oversight of developing athletes physically, right? Um, and mentally, you know what I'm saying? In certain regards, what is the most difficult thing that you've had to endure in your life that you've had to overcome, right? Everybody has, a story. Everybody has things that they've overcome. What is the most difficult thing that Eric McMahon has had to, go through that has helped him to become the man he is today?
you're getting deep on me,
Let's
Joe.
go,
I'm
baby.
gonna have to pour out all my secrets here. Um, Thinking back, obviously, like I said, I'm from Burlington, Vermont, and we have the winter there, and so kind of shapes your athletic upbringing, and you can do a lot of different things. So I was very fortunate to have, supportive parents, and I look at it like I didn't have a hard life by any
Mhm.
means. Like, I put myself on it. Like, I love being on different sports, and I think at the core of it all, I wanted to find something that I was gonna be great at.
Mhm.
And it was like, I was I played football, I played hockey, I played baseball. As a kid, I played soccer. I did a thrower on the track team, and occasionally run a few events. I mean, I did all sorts of stuff, and I always kind of felt like, man, I'm not. I mean, I'm good enough to be on the team. Like, I'm good enough to play,
Mhm.
but I'm not great at any of these things. I really wanted that for me,
Mhm.
and that was, um, when you're young, and you want to be better at something, and you may not have all the tools to figure that out yet. Those can be hard.
Mhm.
But I do think that brought me to where I'm sitting right now.
That's cool, man.
Because when I got to, I was fortunate, I got to play college football. I remember hearing a recruiting speech from, I was at a camp, and I remember there was a coach that got up and said, um, if you want to play college football, there's a place for you. And so, and I was I found I found a place where I had a great college football experience, and I was able to play, and I found strength and conditioning through that. I think playing all those sports growing up and working at those sports, of all the sports I played, I probably had the most fun playing hockey. But that was also the sport I had to work the most at to play. And I think back on that, and that made me so much better, but it also made me so much more well-rounded in what I do now, because I'm always digging from those different sports, especially, I mean, strength and conditioning is kind of a blend, like we're digging from different sports and kind of putting together exercises and programs and drills based on that. And so I think having a multi-sport background has really helped me a lot.
You said something powerful, man. So when I asked you about the most difficult thing that you had to endure, right, I want to kind of go back to that, because it's leading us into like the making of Eric McMahon, right? So you said that, if I heard you correctly, you said that there were a lot of things that that you liked, but you weren't great at any of them, and that kind of got to you, right? And it actually drove you to become a better version of yourself, right? Don't quote me, but I think it's psychologist Eric Erickson, and I think one of his theories states that when you look at individuals, when there are any deficiencies, in their life, those deficiencies actually drive them to become better versions of themselves. Would you agree with that?
For sure. I mean, I know the Erickson stuff. It's like everything's based on like crisis almost.
Yes.
It's like crisis-based change, and your motivation comes from that. And I remember in school learning that and be like, man, that was me right there. Like each one of these little setbacks really just fueled the fire even more. And do I know where that came from? Not really. I just knew what I felt like, what it made me feel like. So yeah, for sure.
When you look at I mean, you're somebody who spends a lot of time developing himself, developing your mind, reading, going to conferences, speaking at conferences, and the whole nine, right? What would you say right now is the future of sport, right? Not only from an intellectual level, but from an applied level. What would you say is the future of the world of sport?
I feel like I could go a lot of directions on that, but the one I think about a lot lately, I presented on the velocity-based training, and it kind of got me thinking about the role of technology that we are integrating into everything we do right now. And not going to get into that specifically, but I think our team is a great example of all that information we're getting has changed the way we look at the game, has changed the way we communicate with each other, has changed the way we study to play the game. And I think one thing I'm striving for the future, and part of that is the velocity stuff, is evidence-based training, or having evidence for what we're doing, getting feedback from every single rep. I think to me, that's going to be the future in everything we do. I think we need to be more perceptive as coaches to those changes, and being able to apply that. And the difficulty of that is just being able to do it on the fly and with that rhythm and flow of the daily coaching that we do. But I think that's going to be a huge part of the future, that whole integration of like tech and information. And because, as you know, it's like it's not, information is a two-way street. It's got to be, there's got to be an exchange. There's got to be, people have to understand it. People, you have to communicate it the right way. And that's going to be different for every single person. So there's a whole can of worms there, just by the access we have to the numbers and the information that we're getting now. I think that's really powerful.
It's like drinking water, man, out of a fire hose. There's so many of it. I think one of the things that keep coming to my mind is that even in the in this great expanse of information, one thing that has always stayed true is that you need somebody to interpret the information, and you need people who are boots on the ground, who are practitioners, you know what I'm saying, who can apply it.
Yeah.
That will never change. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah, I think our fields have grown so much, in those areas. For what strength and conditioning has always kind of had to dabble in all of that stuff, and we're getting more specialized, and roles are being redefined and added, and like you said, we have to find a way to account for all that information so that it can be communicated well across the board.
Yeah,
that's a real challenge for us.
That's good, man. I'm gonna get you out of here on this. As far as meticulous, right, and professional. You know what I'm saying? As you are, you know what I mean? Dare I say OCD at times, because you notice when we move your cones, bro. You're one guy that loves to laugh. You know what I'm saying? You love to laugh and love to find the humor in things. Why is that so important, man? Why is that so important to you? And kind of, what, that's part A. And part B, what has, you know what I'm saying, like, kept you in your professional career? How many years do you have in pro baseball?
This is 14.
14, man. That's awesome. So what has kept you? You know what I'm saying? And the first part of the question has to do with laughter, man. Just being able to find the silver lining and everything.
Keeping a lot, like, I don't know where I stumbled across this, but your energy is your impression. It's like you, especially on what we do. Like, on one end, we're the one area that's essentially outside the game. We're asking them to do things that they're not necessarily going to do on the baseball field. And I think with that in mind, you have to be able to keep it light at times.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, I just think it's, this is a great job. This is a great place to be every day. And I think we all need to realize that how lucky we are to have this in our life. And it's fun. It's fun to come to the park. Sometimes it's, when you're on a 20-game stretch, it can be hard to find that. But I think the little day-to-day laughs that happen, that's huge, man. It's like, I think that's what brings a team together, But in terms of, what was the second part?
No, how's it? And that's fair.
Yeah.
how has it kept you, right, through your over almost, decade and a half career?
There's always a point where I'm like, I feel like I'm getting down or whatever. Or during the year, I'm like, man, like, the one thing I need to do is get my energy up. Like, if I can just, like, dial it up, and that keeps me going. It's like a little cue for myself. But I just try to, I think in what we do, we're around athletes. Like, it's an athletic thing. So I just try to get a workout in, or change up the workout, or do something that I would do to
break the monotony. Yeah.
Break the monotony, change it up.
Yeah.
I think, we're doing this such a long time that, I think it's, you have to do that, So
that's great, man.
That's it, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming in here, E, man. It's just it's given us a different, like, an added layer, you know what I'm saying, to who you are and kind of how you have navigated towards things, man. So appreciate you again, man. Thank you. And then would you please do the honors?
Thanks, Joe.
Oh yeah, I like it. There you go.